Assalamualaikum and hi. Welcome to Health, Safety and Environment. This topic is regulations, and this is part C. I hope you've had a look at part A and B. I'm Dr. Lydia. I'm from Chemical Engineering Department. Let's have a look at the learning outcome. Right. So for this topic, we are going to focus on another regulation called the Environmental Quality Act 1974, also known as EQA 1974. And we also would like to have a look at who are the regulators. As you know, any regulations must have a regulator, because a regulator are the people who actually ensures that the legislation or the regulations are followed through. And we have a look at what EQA covers, right? Okay, so who are the regulators? The regulators are the Department of Environment, or DOE. DOE is a very popular term. It's usually used in most countries. It means Department of Environment. And in Malaysia, it sits under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. So they are the regulators for the Environmental Quality Act, or EQA. Now, EQA came about in 1974, much earlier than OSHA. OSHA is year 1994, right? So EQA comes in at a much earlier time in 1974. Let's have a look. It was gazetted in March. It is the main framework of environmental legislation in Malaysia. So it looks into anything about the environment, right? It governs matters relating to the prevention, abatement, control of pollution, and enhancement of the environment. So anything to do with the environment, the EQA covers. It is administered and enforced or regulated by the DOE, right, under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. So you can have a look at what EQA is all about in their website. And to date, EQA have been enacted for the control of pollution from crude palm oil, rubber processing, sewage and industrial effluent, atmospheric emissions, open burning, toxic and hazardous waste management. So anything to do with the environment, EQA looks into it. So it covers a lot of industries, because a lot of industries have got emissions either through air or through effluents in the water, right? So all of these industries have to follow the regulations under EQA. Okay, the evaluation results are usually described in the form of an environmental impact assessment report, or known as EIA. Now, EIA reports are very important. So what are the steps to conduct this report? Number one, the DOE will identify and assess the environmental impact of an activity. Let's say we have a case of maybe open burning. So there's a report that DOE receives. There's an open burning happening somewhere. So DOE will come in and identify and then assess whether the open burning does give an environmental impact, right? Number two, DOE will identify measures on how to prevent it, to reduce it, or to control the impact, if the impact is really, really great. Then they will report it in what we know as the EIA, right? And then they will look at it, and the activity either has to stop or it can continue. Activity to proceed only if the control measures are adequate. If not, they need to be stopped. So this is what an EIA report is all about. Right, so what covers, or what does EQA covers in? They cover agro-based pollution. For example, we have a lot of palm oil. So when we produce palm oil, we also produce its waste. So palm oil waste has to follow EQA regulations. That means before it is thrown out into the environment, the manufacturer or the industry has to ensure that it follows regulations that is stipulated under EQA. Agro-based pollution, for example, rubber waste is another agro-based pollution. EQA also regulates industrial effluents and sewage, as you can see in these pictures. Whatever comes out from a factory, any industry, must follow the EQA regulations. If not, the Department of Environment will come in and they will give a fine or penalty towards the industry, right? Scheduled waste is another one. Now, what does scheduled waste mean? You can look it up in the Department of Environment website. Scheduled waste means there is a schedule or a list of the types of waste that you must dispose of properly. So you must identify what kind of waste and how it has to be disposed according to the EQA regulation. And if you do not comply, the DOE will come in and you may be fined. So the regulations are there to actually protect the environment. So any industry must follow these regulations. Okay, EQA also regulates what is emitted into the air, or what we call as air emissions. It can be from motor vehicles, it can be from factories, as you can see here. So whatever is released into the environment, either it is in the air or in the water, or it is solid waste or hazardous waste, it must follow the regulations that is mentioned under EQA, right? Okay, so we can say that EQA controls and regulates the EIA requirements itself. As we've seen just now, agro-based pollution, industrial effluents and sewage, scheduled waste, as well as air emissions. So it covers everything that comes out and it may cause some environmental effect. Okay, and EQA stipulates conditions and parameter limits for waste emissions. So if you have a look at EQA, it has limits and standards that industries must follow before they discharge the waste or deposit the waste into the environment. So the basis of this framework is on the issuance and renewal of licenses, where the DOE will provide you with a license fee according to the industry that you are in, and if you do not follow, the penalties will be imposed, right? So your license may be revoked. You must then show that you follow the regulations properly for you to continue with your business. So this is what EQA does, and this is what DOE ensures that the industry follows. Okay, I have a short question here as an exercise. A printing company disposes their treated waste into the river behind their factory every month. So a complaint was made against them by the public. So as you know, DOE officers will come to investigate. This is what they do. And after a month of investigating, DOE found that the waste did not comply to the regulations and standards. So what would be the legislation that controls and regulates this case? I think it's quite obvious that anything to do with the environment or whatever is disposed into the environment, we have to look at EQA, right? And explain the steps taken by the DOE upon receiving the complaint. So that would be the steps that you in the slides that explains the EIA. So have a look, take your time, rewind the video, have a look at it again. So this is one of the regulations that exists in Malaysia. It specifically looks into the environment. Right, so I think we've covered our learning outcome for this topic. Right, as usual, stay safe. Do repeat and have a look at if there's any questions. You can catch me up on Open Learning. Send me a message. Right, so this has been brought to you by the UTP HSC MOOCs team. Stay safe.